It's NFL Week 10, and your 2-7 Giants head down to Texas to scrap it out with 5-3 Cowboys. And I say scrap it out because undrafted free agent quarterback Tommy DeVito will get the start against one of the best pass rushes in the league. And because of that, most sports books have Dallas favored by a season-high 16.5 points. But hey, like they say, any given Sunday. On this week's episode of the Blue Rush Preview Show, we're talking about the biggest storylines going into Sunday, player interviews with Shepard and Darius Slayton, and of course, we've got your player prop bets. And here's the gang, longtime Giants beat writer for the New York Post, Paul Schwartz, and two-time Super Bowl champ, rocking the stash, Lawrence Stash Tynes, my man.
Listen, we got to switch it up, Brandon. 2-7 is not good enough. So I bought into the no shave November. Looks like you have too. Paul is not playing the game. But if you look, if you follow and understand mustaches, this is called the chevron.
Okay.
Just look that up. I'm not even going to tell you anymore. Worn often by celebrities like Tom Selleck. So that's what.
Hold on.
Magnum PI, Detroit Tigers had. Remember, had the Doberman Pinschers.
Also, a little Travis Kelce, right, which is very in vogue with a lot of. First of all, if you look close,
Give me Tom Selleck over Kelce. Tom Selleck in those really short shorts, you know.
No shave.
That was a man's
November.
man.
No shave November means no shave. You did a selective shave, right?
Well,
you
that's
did
fair.
This is. Have you ever had a beard in your life?
I tried. It looks ridiculous. I have patches here. Bad testosterone or something. I blame my dad for that. Although my dad my dad actually rocks a beard now. It's 69 years old. So he's always had a nice beard. My 16-year-old son could probably grow a better beard than I can. So must be that Scottish blood.
Yeah.
And Paul, since we're always getting on you with like rap lyrics and like hip hop artists, can you update me on who Tom Selleck is, please?
Tom Selleck?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Here, I'll give you a more modern. Tom Selleck was the older boyfriend in Friends, right? He was in Friends before he was in all his great shows before that. Tom Selleck was the sex symbol of the 80s, I guess, right?
Okay.
80s? Yeah.
Yeah, Magnum PI was one of the shows he was famous for.
Okay, that guy. All right.
Yeah. And he was in Friends afterwards. I think he was Courtney Cox's older boyfriend. So that he spans generations, and he did have an awesome mustache. Yeah. I mean, it's the single mustache with clean shaven that Lawrence is attempting was a big deal, and it's coming back now. It's kind of like
his was much fuller than this, obviously. But if you go Google him, my father has a great mustache, had my whole life. He looks and resembles like Tom Selleck, and I'm not just saying that. And my dad is from Michigan, and we always wore a Detroit ball cap, much like Tom Selleck. My dad is from Flint, but yeah, we're getting into the weeds here. Yeah. Good to see you guys.
Flint was home of Carl Banks, right? The greatest defender of Avon Thibodeau. Yeah.
And Reggie Williams, another great linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals. My dad went to high school with him. They were buddies.
All right, we could talk stashes and Tom Selleck all show, but let's get to the show, guys. Paul, let's start off with the practice report. Any updates coming out of Quest Diagnostics Training Center?
Azeez Ojulari, remember him? He is the clock has started on his practice. He practiced on Wednesday. It sounds like he could play on Sunday. We'll see about that. Sometimes guys need a week to kind of get back into it. Brian Daboll almost made it sound like maybe that wouldn't be the case. So, I mean, I guess that helps, right? Evan Neal was walking around the locker room in crutches and a boot. So even Brian Daboll said weeks, not days with him. So, look, I talked to Evan Neal right after the game. He sprained his other ankle. He knew it was bad. So, I would say he's probably an IR candidate. You won't see him for a while. I would guess you'd see Tyree Phillips at right tackle again. I know Lawrence has great affection for Phillips, thinks he's better than Evan Neal right now. So, we'll see what that does. Other than that, I mean, Mrs. Lincoln, what did you think of the show? I mean, other than having their first and second quarterbacks hurt, And we'll get into Tommy DeVito. And look, we're going to talk about the game and the point spread, and they have no chance or they have a chance or whatever. But we'll get to it later. And we shouldn't minimize that. This is a great story. Tommy DeVito is I don't know if it's a great story, but it's a great personal story for him. New Jersey guy. He said he's having a lot of family come to Dallas, and stranger things have happened, I guess. Not many, but stranger things have happened. Maybe let me. Here's one unfortunate thing that Brian Daboll revealed on Wednesday. He calls him DeVito's at times.
DeVito's.
He mentioned him as DeVito's, and I said, "Really, DeVito's?" He said, "Yeah, I've called him that." I said, "Oh, that's a rough one." DeVito's.
I don't like that. Yeah.
No, DeVito's is no good.
But it's a good thing when
agony of DeVito's is not a good headline, right? So I mentioned
Paul, don't
agony
you dare.
of DeVito. So I said that to Daboll in a quiet. I said, I don't like DeVito's. He said, "Oh no, don't say that." I said, "Okay, Brian, how about you call him this, DeVictory? Call him Tommy DeVictory. Okay, that's good."
Wait, right? Who said this? Daboll?
Daboll said to me, "What did you ask me? You asked me something weird today, Schwartz." And I said, "Well, I just didn't like the whole DeVito's thing because it opens up a bad can of worms." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, your headline writers can say agony of DeVito's." And he said, "Oh, no, come on, don't say that. Don't say that." And I said, "Okay, call him DeVictory then. That's better, right?
Did he
Tommy
like that?
DeVictory."
Times
Did he like that? Did he fist pump you?
No, he liked it better. He was in the elevator and he had a little plate of food and he was going to talk about important things, I'm sure, at the time. So he's like, "Yeah, okay."
Well,
But
I'm glad Daboll had a small plate of food, not a large plate.
He did have a small plate of food. He did. Yeah.
But Tynes, that's a good thing when the head coach has a nickname for you. If he goes down there and defeats the Cowboys, I mean, I understand what he's going up against, but this here is New York. You go down there and play well, you become a star overnight. So, Tynes, I understand what he has stacked up against him, but do you like DeVito's going down against this Dallas pass rush?
Man, I do. I think. Listen, any given Sunday, and yes, are the odds huge? Yeah. This is such a long shot, but it can happen. The Dallas Cowboys went to Arizona and got beat by Josh Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals. So I really like what I saw from DeVito's. I'll call him DeVito. I don't like DeVito's either. I really like what we saw from Tommy in the second half. Now, was he seeing things clearer? Yes, but he needs to stop running into sacks because everyone's going to say the offensive line played poorly. If you go back and watch the film of that game Sunday against the Raiders, the offensive line probably had one of their best games, and that includes Evan Neal. The entire offensive line played well. Now, Andrew Thomas will say he didn't play well. That's great, but 90% Andrew Thomas is better than anything and most things in the league. So he's just being tough on himself. That offensive line played well. They were moving people off the football. I went back and watched the Giants' first drive against Dallas last night. We get the ball obviously inside the 10. The season spirals. There's a pre-snap penalty. There's a bad snap by JMS, and then the blocked field goal. I think you can be functional with Tommy DeVito. He's athletic. He's pretty accurate. You do have to obviously keep him on his feet. And I don't think you have to make everything quick. I really don't. I think there's going to be some play action. I think he can bootleg and do some of the things Daniel can do. And we saw a little bit underthrown. I think that may have just been nerves. I think he can throw a nice deep ball. So, listen, at 2-7, if you're a real Giants fan, you have to be excited about watching a local kid from Don Bosco playing for his hometown team. I mean, what a cool story. Whether they win or not, I don't know, but I'm excited to watch him. I really am.
And I think they don't hold back with him this week. You saw the first game, obviously he didn't, against the Jets when he came in. Obviously he didn't throw the ball downfield. Then you see the second game against the Raiders. Now, like you said, on that interception, they ran the deep crosser with the post route. You could see the crosser was there, but he wanted to take the shot. The kid has mettle. The kid wants to show that, hey, I've got a grasp of this offense, which he continuously shows. And he showed it during the preseason by getting the ball to Cole Beasley in the slot because it was there. So he'll take what's there. He went 15 for 20. But now I see the V's looking like, hey, I understand I have Jalen Hyatt on the outside, Darius Slayton, and I also have a Wan'Dale Robinson that I can get. That's my Cole Beasley. That's my comfort level. I see him taking shots. Why not? He has nothing to lose, and this will be a great game for opportunity, Paul. It's a great opportunity for the young man.
Look, a couple of things. First of all, you guys know practice, right? You guys have been in practice. You know practice. The third-string quarterback practice squad guy gets no reps, right? He's a scout. He's not running the team's offense, right? He's running the Cowboys' offense this week. Last week, he would have been running the Raiders' offense. So, I'm just trying to let's try to build a case that he can be better this week, right? And I agree with you, Lawrence. He looked okay in the second half, last week in Las Vegas. So he now gets every first team rep, or 90% of them. Maybe they give Matt Barkley a couple of them. He did not have that even as the backup. So that will benefit him. He said that, I basically, he said, that just to be able to rep the plays we're going to be running for the weeks and be able to throw with the guys I'm going to be throwing to. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to throw to the guys you're going to throw to in a game. Now, look, as we said, he's a New Jersey guy. He's a Don Bosco guy. He went to Syracuse, right? A lot of, local connections there. Played there, 3 years. Went to Illinois, did well at Illinois, and that kind of got him bumped up a little bit. So, he's, maybe not, not drafted, but he was on a little bit of NFL radar to get him, a look in training camps and things like that. I mean, the guy has the aura of a quarterback. Okay, that's what I would say from being around him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying on the field. I'm just saying there's a lot of cameras around him and people around him. He's not like a deer in the headlights. Holy cow, what's going on here? I mean, he's been a quarterback. He's been a star quarterback in high school. He's been the starting quarterback in college. So I like that about him. And ask if this was shocking. He's a delightful guy. He really is. He said, someone said, are you shocked? He goes, right? He goes, yeah, I think it's a shock to everybody. Not to have one quarterback, but two quarterbacks go down. I mean, it's tough. The quarterback position runs a team, and our first two are gone. So I think, and I like what he said. He said, my first rule is always don't panic. In anything I do, the first thing I think about is don't panic. So I don't think he will panic. Now, look, if he has Michael Parsons coming from one way and DeMarcus Lawrence come from the other way, and he's got 0.02 milliseconds to throw, I mean, yeah, a little panic sets in there. But I think he is a quarterback. He gets that sense. I just think he'll be very overmatched in this game, and that will be difficult. But, I just don't think – it's easy to make fun of fans to make fun and things like that, I try not to do that because this is a guy with a family and with friends. And, far be it to me to say he can't do it. It's a very, very tall order for him to do it, obviously. But let's go see. Let's see.
Yeah, it's got a Hollywood storyline. He talked about two quarterbacks going down. I said any given Sunday. Remember, Willie Beeman came off the bench. And I understand that's a movie and all, but if he goes out and performs well, forget the win, but if he goes out there and performs well, he makes himself some money as at least a career backup, a Cooper Rush, Taylor Heineke. You stay in the league for a little bit. But at the end of the day, we just got to see.
One more thing may I add there, Brandon, is Bellinger and Cage are going to have to be big deals for him. They always say a tight end is a quarterback's best friend. And I think there'll be some opportunities for Bellinger. The problem with that is they're going to have to keep him in a lot, right, and help with chipping against DeMarcus Lawrence and Parsons. So, but you have to get the tight end involved if you want a chance, just to keep it respectable.
Yep, that might be some 3-yard kick, chip, get out, that sort of thing. But absolutely, Daniel Bellinger is going to have to stay in and help out. Let's switch talking about quarterbacks because there's a lot going on, and you even commented on it, Tynes. So I'm going to go to you on this one. Daniel Jones was he had the scrum, Paul, as you know. Everyone was over there. There were some questions that a lot of people are calling questionable. Tynes, talk about your tweet. About what Daniel was asked about his future with the New York Giants. Kind of break that down, man. Let's talk about that storyline for sure.
Yeah, I didn't like it, and I just wanted to make sure I let everyone know I didn't like it. I thought it was chicken shit to ask somebody about a draft pick 3 days after you've been told your season's over due to a torn ACL. So whether people liked it, whether journalists who tweeted at me said it was a realistic question, I don't give a damn. I answered it from a player's perspective. I don't think that you do that in that time. The guy's down. He's beaten. He's had a terrible season. and then you come at him with a question on chatter. What the hell is chatter? Are we asking people questions? Did this come from the organization? No. Did Joe Shane say we're going to look at quarterbacks? No. So I didn't like it. I said what I said. I stand behind it. I just didn't like it. And I get it. You got to ask questions. But for me, whether it was right or wrong, I just answered it the way I thought I should have answered it, and maybe defended Daniel a little bit. Give the man some space. He's just been told, he's had a rough go here.
Paul, you shaking your head.
That's fine. Paul's not. Paul, listen, that's fine. Paul's a journalist. I'm not. But I responded to the tweet like a player.
Look, Lawrence, you're a player, and I would hope you would defend your quarterback like that, right? But look, here's a couple of things. First of all, do you think Daniel was surprised to get that question? No, he knew the question was coming. Second of all, this wasn't in the locker room.
Have you ever prefaced a question by all the girly chatter out there?
Well,
and then ask the question?
I'm not going to critique. I'm not going to critique other people's questions.
I can.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying. Look,
whoever the hell that guy is
the difference between a guy sitting in his locker, 10 minutes after the game ended in Las Vegas, right? Like this, and asking him if he thinks his career is over with the Giants. Okay, this is several days later. The diagnosis has been made. Daniel has not spoken about it since. And, he broke down, what happened. He said that he definitely buckled on the last play of the first quarter, and he went to the sideline and he kind of, jogged a little bit. Dabo said, "You okay?" He said, "I'm okay." Should they have not let him back in the game? He said he was okay. He went back in. Obviously, he wasn't okay as he fell down, on his back pedal, and that was that. I'm sure he tore his ACL on the last play of the first quarter. It doesn't sound like he did more extensive damage. They said it's ACL and not other ligaments, which is good. I'm not 100% sure of that, but that's what Daniel said quickly. But as far as asking him about his future, I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I mean, if you phrase it correctly, because look, that's what everyone is thinking about. No one is looking at Daniel Jones and saying his career is over. This is a career-ending injury. Unfortunately, Daniel can go look at like almost 10 teammates, right, that have had ACLs. I mean, on offense, Justin Pugh, Saquon Barkley, Matt Pert, Wan'Dale Robinson, right? I mean, he can just have bring guys out for coffee and drinks.
How could you leave out Sterling Shepard?
Sterling Shepard, right? I mean, he's had it all. Yeah, Darian Beavers. There's so many guys you can talk to. So we know what this is. It's a cookie cutter injury. That's so I'm saying that his career is not over. His Giants career is not over because he's on the team next year because of the salary cap. But I think it is fair to say, Daniel, I know you're not thinking about this right now, or maybe you are, but have you given any thought to what happens when you're healthy next year with the quarterback situation and your starting job? I think that's a fair question.
No, that is, but that's not what was asked. What was asked was, what do you make of all this chatter about the Giants drafting a quarterback? That's a completely different question than what does your future look like? Fair, right? And listen, the guy can ask the question all he wants. I just responded how I wanted to respond. I'm not saying that he's wrong or I'm right. I just think asking about speculation and nothing that's been said by someone from the organization, you know how they hit the gavel? Speculation, Your Honor.
Yeah, no, if Daniel was a different kind of guy, right, he might have said, I'm not aware of that chatter. Can you tell me where that chatter comes from? And if then it was said, well, on Twitter and some prognosticators and a lot
then
of
you
writers,
look like
then Daniel could have said, when the chatter comes from my team, then I will address it, and until it does, I won't. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, but Daniel's not that kind of guy. He's not.
Paul, are you looking for a PR job with the Giants post career?
Who, me?
You could teach these young men and
how
to answer these questions.
I could teach these young men a lot because and I think they do get training, but I think it's
different.
I think it's underserved. I really do. I do think players are underserved in a sense to, if you want to get a group of guys together and say, look, do you guys really want to be trained for this? And I'm not saying to lie or to not be yourself, but it's important to know, look, at your lowest moment, I'm going to come at you with these 5 questions. Okay. And you're going to have to handle it. That's all. I mean, and you can handle it by being combative, by being a jerk, by being non-confrontation, whatever. But you can be Jackrabbit, right, and say no, no. Remember Jackrabbit?
Yeah, he gave you nothing. Yeah.
No comment. No comment.
Who was the best player you've ever seen, Paul? Best player you've ever covered with regards to handling criticism or losses?
I mean, Eli for 16 years was great because Eli would not let it become personal with him. Eli was great. Kerry Collins was really good. A quarterback back then was really good. Tiki was good, but Tiki could get a little sensitive, certainly. Like most people could.
I didn't make your list. Thanks.
No, yeah, I'm going to say I'm trying to think how you were. You were good, but you could be a little feisty.
Ooh,
sure. You see that today as I defend my quarterback I've never played for.
Yeah. I also think
feisty.
Specialists and kickers, it's a rough thing. I remember talking to Casey Kreider earlier this year or something like that, and I said, when someone like me walks over to you, right? It's not to say, you know what, you had 4 snaps last game and they were all good. Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
It's not the way it works.
Hey, Paul, to stay on the player to media type relationship, you say that it would be good for players to get some sort of media training. Do you think that media should get some sort of player training as well? How to ask, how to talk to these guys? Because let's talk about another report that kind of goes with this situation. The report that Xavier McKinney, when he came out and he said we're not being listened to. A lot of people and a lot of players, guys that I spoke to in the locker room yesterday, said that was framed like it was Xavier McKinney or the players up against the coaches. Like there's some sort of narrative that's being put out there that there's division within the locker room. You saw or you felt what the atmosphere was like. Those guys didn't want to talk to anybody because a lot of them were saying, we don't want one line to be the headline, and now it looks like there's some sort of division within the locker room. Is there some sort of etiquette when it comes to taking a clip or taking a soundbite and pushing some sort of narrative? Do you think writers should have some sort of training on that, I guess, is the question? Or is it just no holds barred?
What is the classic refrain? You took what I said out of context, right? Or you didn't use my whole quote. You use this part of the quote, and then this second part of the quote where I kind of explained it. You didn't use that. Look, we can get into this. We can do a whole segment on this, a whole show on this. I'm just, first of all, I don't comment on other people's reports. I really don't. I mean, I for many years, I have not done that because that wasn't my report that Xavier McKinney said. He kind of cleared it up a little bit the next day. He had a function, giving out turkeys or giving out something, and he kind of, said we're cool with this. Do I think the locker room is in tatters and it's us against them? I don't. I think I also think you have to look at the players. Some players you can kind of wind up to say things, and some players you can't. And it is my job to kind of locate the guys you can and try to get them, and sometimes at a vulnerable moment, and maybe they'll spill on something. And as long as I frame it accurately, look, what I do and what you guys do are different, and the one thing is a lot of players will look at someone like me and said, he's trying to get dirt and rip the team apart. And some writers and journalists do try to do that. I just try to report accurately. If the locker room is in trouble, right, like it was in 2017, right? Ben McAdoo, then I need to report that, and I need to ferret that out to see what's going on. If it's not, then I need to find out that. But yeah, look, I just think it's a big thing. You guys know, you get a microphone, somebody comes over to you, I'm talking to you. Was that on the record? Was that off the record? Some of these guys who played for these big schools, they're kind of used to it, but sometimes they're not because they get pampered at these big schools. You think of these in Ohio State, Michigan, and Alabama, the writers are running around the locker room. They're not, you know what I mean? It's very orchestrated, and things like that. So it's a big thing. Look, Evan Neal said some really bad things, right? And that was, and to his credit, he didn't say it to me. He said some really bad things about the fans. He never said I was quoted out of context. He never said that's not what I meant. He said, well, I came off and that was bad. And I was, that was a mistake and I apologize. And I give him credit for that.
Let's talk about one of your reports. You reported on Leonard Williams calling his trade classy. Let's get on the positive note here, man, because I think this was great move by Joe Shane a great PR move for Joe Schoen and this, I guess you'd say, administration, this front office, having a player traded at the deadline come out and say this was something classy. I think this helps for free agents down the road in terms of wanting to come in and play for a GM like that. Can you talk about Leonard Williams, that trade, and kind of your report on him saying that it was a classy move by the organization?
Well, I heard Leonard's remarks when he first got to Seattle, and he was very, I have nothing but good things to say about the Giants. That's fine. That's typical. And then he said, well, I like the way the negotiations went, and, I think they handled it with great respect. And I'm thinking, why are there that's a weird word to say about a trade, negotiations. It's like, you're treated with respect, but it's not a negotiation. You're going to Seattle. And I kind of did a little research and heard that, that maybe they gave Leonard an opportunity to stay. So I got a hold of his agent, Brandon Parker, who is the son of really a legendary NFL agent, Eugene Parker, who passed away last year. And he said, I'm glad you called, because I really wanted out there what the Giants did here, but I didn't want to just come out and say it on social media, because it looks like the other agents will say, oh, you just you're kind of sucking up to the Giants here. And he kind of laid it out for me. He didn't tell me exactly that Leonard was given veto power, but I found out from other people that is indeed the case. But and I think it's very rare. They called Leonard around. Joe Schoen called Leonard Williams into his office around 11 o'clock on Monday. Right, the trade deadline was the next day at 4 p.m. and said, Leonard, here's what we're thinking here. We got a really good offer from Seattle. We like the compensation. We will do the deal. We want to ask you, we respect you. We love you. And if you don't want to go, you won't go. Okay. We have some other offers, but I don't think they're going to be as good. Why don't you go home, think about this, call your agent, call whoever else you want. We need an answer by 4 p.m. today. That was Monday, because in order to do the deal, a lot of money was going to have to change. The Giants were going to have to, change his contract and give him a $9 million signing bonus. So, all that needs to be done before 4 p.m. today. So Leonard, his agent told me, I got a call from Leonard, and Leonard never calls me. He just texted me, and I said, this better not be what I think it is. He better not be calling me and telling me I've just been traded. The Giants just said they traded me. And Leonard said, no, this is what we're thinking. This is what we're thinking. And Leonard didn't bail on the team. He said, okay, they want to trade me. Okay, so that means something, obviously. And Seattle's a good team. I guess he felt he could, play for 2 months in Seattle. Don't forget, he doesn't have a contract for next year. And they were 5-2 at the time, I think. So I'm going right into playoff contention. And he said, okay, I'll do it. So, I think it's very unusual. I know Lawrence has a story, which I'm eager to hear right now, but a player giving veto power. And I asked Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke, and Darius Slayton in the locker room yesterday, what did that say to you? And Bobby Okereke said that it means that, they're going to treat us with class and respect, and that's a great thing. Slayton said, look, we look around the locker room, we're having a really bad year, and it tells me that they're not going to bail on players, and they're going to give us a say. And, Kayvon, who's a little bit of a contrarian, said, well, that tells me if that was in my situation, I would want to go to a team that wants me and not a team that wants to trade me. And it's like if you have a girlfriend and says, I want to see somebody else, are you still going to be nice to her? Are you going to get out of it and go find somebody else? But Kayvon also did say, really interestingly, he said that was classy, and I hope that when my time comes, he didn't say if my time comes, said, I hope when my time comes, they treat me with that respect. So it did resonate. It wasn't, these guys aren't walking around the locker room saying, freaking Joe Schoen just gave away our player, and, they don't care about us. So I think that does resonate moving forward.
Tynes, you got a story for us?
Well, yeah, I was traded to the Giants in 2007. So very, very similar story, actually, to Leonard's, albeit 16 years later. Contract dispute, which typically happens, restricted free agent. I probably thought I was better than I probably was, but that's just the NFL player, right? Yeah. They offered me a 4-year deal. I said, nope, I'll sign this restricted tender and go about my business. They, of course, drafted Justin Medlock, who lasted exactly 1 game in the NFL with the Chiefs that year. Anyway, they drafted a kid in the 5th round out of UCLA. Writing's on the wall. Lawrence, you got to find a partner, somebody that wants to trade for you. So 3 teams, all offering 7th-round pick. Carl Peterson, our general manager at the time for the Chiefs. And I don't think I'd talked to this guy maybe once in my life. 2nd time was probably when they were trading me, maybe 3rd time. brings me into his office. He says, Lawrence, look, I'm going to give you the option here. Every team is offering the same thing. And, of course, my relationship with Thomas McGahee, and he was at New York. I turned down two dome teams, guys. I turned down 2 domes to come to New York City. So that was a roll of the damn dice. But, boy, was I right. We won a Super Bowl in 2007. So that was fun. But anyway, just to circle back on the same thing that happened to Leonard, really classy by the Kansas City Chiefs to handle it that way. My wife was pregnant. I was a young player. They gave me the option. I thought that was really, really cool of the Chiefs to do and let me pick my destination. And as they say, I chose wisely.
But they didn't give you a chance to veto a trade. You know what I mean? And also,
but I wanted to leave. I requested the trade.
Right. And I also think there were 2 other teams. The Bills were interested. Joe Schoen has a great relationship with the Bills, and the 49ers came in late with Leonard Williams. You know what I mean? And so, but I don't think they would have come up to the second round pick, but both the Bills and the 49ers were interested. And I think if the compensation was the same, I believe that they would have told Leonard, where do you want to go? What do the Giants care if it's Seattle or the 49ers or the Bills? They don't, it's not like they trade him to the Cowboys or the Eagles or the Commanders. So they would have done that. But I thought the veto thing was really interesting. And, I saw some fans interaction and thinking like, really, Joe Schoen, if he said he wanted to stay, he would have passed up a 2nd round draft pick. Look, he said, Joe Schoen hasn't publicly come out and said anything, but they value the guy. And you know what? He's a rental in Seattle. There's a chance that maybe when all is said and done, Leonard Williams comes back. Remember Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees? Yep. They trade him away and then they got him back. I don't think it'll happen, but if it doesn't happen, it won't be because Leonard Williams and the Giants have burned any bridges. That won't be the reason, which is interesting.
That report, great job, Paul. That report is going to be used in free agency pitches when the offseason comes up. This is the type of organization, or this is the type of GM that players, when they come in or when they're dealing with contract disputes or just anything when it comes to their deal, this is the type of GM that they're going to be dealing with. And like you said, Tynes, you gamble, you roll the dice, you got 2 of them things because of it. So hats off to you. Tynes, wrap up these storylines before we talk to Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton in the locker room.
Well, it's a busy week, injury, Xavier McKinney news, which I didn't get to comment on. 2-7 breeds a lot of this kind of stuff, right? There's going to be chatter. There's going to be comments made. Losing sucks in the NFL. So try and win some damn football games, and it'll change the narrative.
All right, I talked to Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton about anything and everything, including is the locker room divided? Plus, Sterling Shepard gave us a little insight on his conversation with Daniel Jones. Let's talk to Sterling Shepard about where this team is mentally at this point of the season. Shep, you've kind of went through seasons like this during your tenure here with the Giants. What do you say to the guys going forward on how they approach the rest of the season?
Yeah, obviously it's not a situation that we all want to be in. You want to win games, but I think during this point in time, it's very important to keep the guys uplifted and let them know we still got a lot of games to play. So we got to come out here and prepare the way that we know we're supposed to, and try to make the best of the rest of the season. Like I said, we still have 8 games, so still got a while to go. We got to be able to fight through it.
8 games is a long time, man, especially in this league. And like you said, you still got to prepare the way that you're supposed to. You guys are professionals, but how do you still have fun with it?
Yeah. This is a game that we've all been playing since we were kids. So, boiling it back down to that and trying to reiterate to guys that this is a game at the end of the day, and you have to enjoy it. But, losing is no fun. I don't care whether it's a game or something serious. You don't ever want to lose. So I understand guys' frustration, but you got to kind of channel that into something else or a different direction.
We're about a week removed from the trade deadline. Were you surprised that you were still here, you didn't get traded for after the deadline passed?
Not really. You know what I mean? I try not to pay attention to any of that type of stuff, so don't really let it faze me.
Well, you're a guy that's got a lot of run. You got a lot of tread on your tires here. You put work in for this organization. How do you keep yourself, or where are you mentally for the rest of the season, mindset-wise?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just approaching every day the same way. Try to be the same guy every day. Come to work hard at whatever I'm doing. Not try to let my situation affect the way that I come to work every day. Try to help other guys in any way I can. And, just stay strong mentally.
One of the way you help guys is with your energy, man. I think at MetLife Stadium on game day, me and you the most hyped guys out there, But how do you keep that going? How do you keep it up, man, the spirits up? Come on, talk to me.
Yeah. I think just because my brothers, that's why I play for. I play for these guys. And so, as tough as it is at times, I still try to give my guys that energy because I love them. I'm like my brothers, so that makes it easy for me.
Have you got a chance to talk to Daniel Jones since everything's happened, and what was that conversation like?
Yeah, just talking to him about, who did my surgery, how I felt, and just let him know if he has any questions or anything about what's upcoming, that I'll be here for him as a resource, and just let him know I'm here for him. That's all I can do.
Was that rough to kind of have that conversation?
Yeah, it's always rough. I don't care who it is, and that's like my brother, so it's definitely tough on me having to have that conversation, but that's what we sign up for. That's the nature of the business. But mentally, he's so strong. I'm not worried about him. He'll be all right.
I appreciate that, Shep.
All right, appreciate you.
I'm in the locker room with wide receiver Darius Slayton. Slay, you got a rookie quarterback starting this week. How has the receiver room kind of had to adjust how you guys do things?
Just trying to figure out what he likes. How he sees the game. Every quarterback sees the game a little different, likes route specifications different. So just trying to get on the same page with him.
What have you seen from DeVito throughout the course of these last 3 weeks?
He's a gamer. I think he's got a little moxie is the word people like to use. I think he gets out there in the game and he gets comfortable, he gets in a groove, and he's capable to make all the throws, and we believe in him, and looking forward to playing him this week.
My rookie year, Strahan and OC used to say moxie all the time. How's the moxie within the receivers room? Where's you guys mental? Deep pause.
Positive, man. We just, as receivers, all you can do is go out there and get open and catch the ball when it comes your way, and you can't get caught up in how the game goes or maybe how the game goes for you individually. For receivers, it's really easy to look in the game and be like, oh, I had 1 or 2 targets, and, you want to have 50, but the reality is every game is different, and you just have to make the most of the opportunities when they come your way.
You're one of the vets in the room. How do you keep the guys from allowing 2 and 7 to affect the way that they prepare and when it comes to having fun with the game?
Yeah, I think just kind of reminding people that you're always fighting for not just one thing. You're fighting to win, but you're fighting for your family, your job. You have a lot to go hard for. So even if maybe things aren't going your way, it's not always about you. You got to look at the team. You got to look at the people you need to take care of, and allow those things to motivate you.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
For sure.
I appreciate Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard for being as real as they can be. Obviously, right now, you can see the hesitation to answer some of these questions because, like we talked about earlier, a soundbite can get blown up on social media. At times, you didn't get a chance to really talk about your thoughts and feelings on the whole Xavier McKinney situation. Floor is yours, man. Floor is yours, because I feel like this kid's getting drug in the mud for something overblown.
Yeah, and listen, there's a double-edged sword here, right? He is a leader. He is a captain. I love Xavier McKinney. We've had him on this show. I love what he's about. Very mature, very thoughtful guy when he answers questions. He always said, I want to be a gold jacket type. He's that kind of player. He hasn't had the kind of season this year. Obviously, the hand injury affected maybe his status in the locker room last year. I really do think that happened within the organization. It's why they haven't re-signed him. Not making enough splash plays. But when you lose guys 2 and 7, a lot of frustrations come out. And Xavier McKinney's a vocal player. He's a captain. He kind of spoke his mind a little bit. And is he right or wrong? Listen, Antrell Roll did the same thing in 2011 in the offseason, in January or February, I believe. He spoke out. it's okay. Players in the locker room, just from a player's perspective, leadership should maybe address it. He is leadership, but again, Justin Tuck addressed that Antrell Roll situation publicly by making statements. Hey, I will talk to Antrell about this. Somebody in that locker room maybe did or didn't. I hope they did. I hope an Andrew Thomas or somebody went up to him and said, hey. But again, I think they missed. Last week you could say the defense was a little flat. I think they really missed Leonard Williams. I think they missed maybe something he brings to the team. They felt not whole going out there because that defense didn't look good early. They really didn't. But McKinney losing, things like this happen in the locker room just for the public's knowledge out there. It's not that big a deal as long as it doesn't fracture the team. But they are great clickbait type stories. And if he said it, he said it. You can phrase it however you want to say Xavier McKinney blasts the defensive coaches, whatever. People are going to read the story. But I like Xavier McKinney. He's just a little bit disgruntled this season.
Paul, and Brian Daboll addressed the conversation, didn't really give much, but he said he did speak to Xavier. It was obviously Brian Daboll coaches talk, but do you feel like something's there?
Here's what I found interesting is that, the offense is so bad, right? And so you figure there would be talk about the offense. This is Xavier McKinney talking about the defense. Have we ever talked about Wink Martindale and he's lost the defense or, he's got to pick it up. So that was very interesting to me that Xavier said, they're not listening to the leaders, on defense. So I'm not 100% sure at all what that means. I don't think it was a big deal. I do think everyone's antenna has to be up when a team is losing like this. But I don't look at this as a situation where the defense is playing unbelievably lights out and the team can't score. Now, in Buffalo, the defense had a winning effort. There's no question about it. Against the Jets, the defense had a winning effort until, the last 24 seconds of the game. But I look at the crosstown rivals, the Jets, whose defense is playing better than the Giants' defense, and their offense is really letting them down. And, then you always look, I've been doing this for a lot of years. You look for the fractures. Look, I covered a Giants team that could score, remember? And the defense was the worst ever. And Tom Coughlin was doing crazy things. Tom Coughlin was going for it. He was not punting. And I remember people saying, Tom, what are you doing? He said, I know my team better than anyone else. And what he was saying was, I know that we need to score. We can't kick a field goal. We need to score. If it's fourth down, we need to go for it because if we punt the ball back to the defense, the other team and our defense on the field, they're not going to stop them. So you do what you got to do. Look, there'll be more of this. There'll be more of this coming out, and it's just the way it is. As Lawrence said, when the team is when you got 2 wins after 9 games and maybe 2 wins after 10 games after this week, the fractures, if they're there, people will look for them. There's no question.
And that's unfortunate because the defense has been the strong point on this team, and you're talking about a Dallas Cowboys offense that puts up points. This defense cannot break. There could be no division, whether it be between the coaches and the players on this one. So we always talk about, or they've told us about how the defense has these accountability meetings, Paul. How they're able to get right, say what's on their chest, Tynes. Going into this week, after these reports come out, if you're a Wink Martindale, do you kind of allow this senior leadership or your captains, or your defensive captains, your specialists to come in and give more input? Or you just like, you know what, I'm Wink Martindale. This is my defense. This is how we're running it. I don't know where to go with this, man. It's like,
it's tough. Listen, there's going to be a lot of this when you're 2-7. Everything's nasty. Everything tastes bad. Everything looks bad. I think Wink Martindale is the kind of guy that will put his arm around Xavier McKinney and say, what the bleep are you doing? But Xavier McKinney will in turn answer him in a fatherly son type of way. I don't think that Wink's going to go read him the riot act, bench him. Listen, he understands it's an emotional football game. Football's an emotional game. And I think Wink's the kind of guy, put your arm around Xavier and say, talk to me. What's on your mind? And then they will come together. This is the best unit on this team. I think they'll play well the rest of the year. I don't think they'll fracture. They are really just frustrated because, my God, what are we averaging? 10 points a game? It's disgusting. Like, what the offense has put out there through 9 games is disgusting. Like, it's terrible. So there's going to be a little bit of animosity between those groups. I don't think it'll rear its ugly head, but this thing can't keep scoring 10 points through the next 8 games. Or I'm sorry, 8 games. It just can't happen. You have to figure out a way to score points, and I think you can. Go play, figure it out. But yeah, Xavier McKinney's going to be fine. Everyone likes to pile on a good story. It was a good story for a day, but that's the best side of the ball. I think Wink is going to let the players, like he always has, have suggestions and make input on the game plan. So it was just frustration, right? They gave up some big plays early, got in a hole, got beat 30-6.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out against Dallas, to have this, if this defense comes together and plays one of their strongest games against this Cowboys offense. Obviously, Vegas has the Cowboys as a 16.5-point favorite to win this game. So let's get into the player prop bets. And, of course, we're going to get into our final thoughts as well to close this thing out. I'll start with you, Paul. First prop bet, Dak Prescott, passing yards, over under 242.5. Go.
I know he did not have a lot of passing yards in the first game, even though it was a 40-0 game. Dak Prescott lost his first 2 games to the Giants as a rookie in 2016, okay? Since then, 11 straight wins against the Giants, 23 touchdown passes. Anytime you mention Dak Prescott to me and the Giants, I say over, okay? He plays great against the Giants. He doesn't play great against everybody, but he plays great against the Giants, so I will say over 242.5.
Tynes.
Oh, man, this is interesting. I'm going to go under. I don't really have a great reason, but I really think that the defense is going to play even at a higher level than they have. It's the Cowboys. It's kind of a national television game. It's a 3:30 game. So I'm going to go under here and, take the under.
Yeah, I'm going to take under as well. I don't think he's going to need to throw the ball. When we were talking about, like you said, Tynes, the Giants offense only averaging around 10 points per game. I see this as a ground and pound type game for the Cowboys. They want to get the W, get everybody out healthy. CeeDee Lamb, receiving yards, over under 78.5. Tynes.
Give me the over here. We kind of held him in check the first game, but if you watched any of that Philadelphia game, they're moving him around a lot. Man, he is a mismatch nightmare. Really good player. Gotten better and better and better. I was not a big believer in CeeDee Lamb until probably this season. So I'll take CeeDee Lamb on the over here.
Paul.
I'll take him on the over also. Don't forget Noah Dory Jackson, right? He's in concussion protocol. That doesn't help. And, has Deontay Banks hit a little bit of a rookie wall? I don't know if you would say that, but it's a long season. He's played a lot of snaps. I think it's going to be tough to contain CeeDee Lamb. They move him all over the place, like Lawrence said, and I think over here. They could use Dory Jackson. They really could in this game.
I'm going to go under on this one. Again, I don't think they're going to have to throw the ball that much. I think they're going to mix it up with the run game, and I think Mike McCarthy may call a conservative game, again, just to get these guys out, thinking that it's going to be a guaranteed W unless the Giants put some sort of points up to match the Cowboys offense. I don't see the Cowboys offense really going full throttle. Here's one I found at 3 a.m. last night. Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson, receiving yards, over under 36.5. Paul.
Ooh.
I think I've seen every game that Jake Ferguson played at Wisconsin because he went there when my son went there. He is the grandson of Barry Alvarez, the legendary Wisconsin coach and athletic director, which they mentioned every single game he played. When he would catch a pass, they'd say, oh, that's the grandson of the great Barry Alvarez. So I know that. That's a little bit of a Blue Rush trivia here for you. 36.5. First of all, I don't know what the heck you're doing at 3 a.m. looking up Jake Ferguson over-unders. That's between you and whoever. I don't know. I'll say over. It's not a lot of yards. It's 2 catches. I'll say over. I have no idea why, but I'll say over.
I'll go over as well, get him, just to give him the ball. But as a crying baby, Paul, I got a crying baby, man. When Dad can't go to sleep, I look up prop bets, I guess.
Did you call me a crying baby? What did you say? Did you just say I'm a crying baby? What?
Oh, man. Tynes.
This is Dak's second favorite target, and he has really come along in the last month or two of the season. Almost 100 yards against the Eagles. I'm going to go way over here for Ferguson. Although I do like the matchup of our backers against him.
Yeah.
So, but Ferguson's had a nice little run here.
Let's switch it to the Giants side. Tommy DeVito, DeVito's, 0.5 passing touchdowns over under Tynes.
I'm going to go over. I think he'll find the end zone. Listen, he found Wan'Dale Robinson. Why not? A little bit different defense this week against the Cowboys, but give me the young Bergen County man for a touchdown for Big Blue.
Paul, I see you smiling over under.
Have we ever had 0.5 over under in anything?
No, but it's pretty fun.
It's I mean, you know what? The victory, Tommy DeVito, he gets a touchdown pass. Let's give him one. Right, you give him one, and he gets the over. Sure.
I'll go over with you guys. Yeah, he's got to get one. You know, for the sake of the receivers in the past game, please let these guys get into the end zone. I kind of made this one up. Matt Barkley pass attempts 5.5 over under. Paul.
Was this the 5 a.m. feeding for the kid where you did Matt Barkley? You know what I mean? So that means you're saying Tommy DeVito's going to get hurt or something. I don't think they're just going to bench him. I'll say under. I don't think they have any intention of playing Matt Barkley unless there's an injury, which, Tommy DeVito runs around back there a little bit. But let's not wish injuries on anybody, so I'll say under.
Tynes?
What is the number here, Brandon?
5.5 pass attempts.
Well, the only Barkley that I want to see with 5.5 pass attempts is Saquon on halfback passes. So, but if it's the Matt guy, the Matt guy, God forbid. I do not want to see this guy ever in a Giants uniform. I know he'll put one on Sunday. This guy's played 10 years in the NFL. He's there because he knows people. Hope to God we don't see this guy. No. Under, negative under. Whatever the hell that means. But no Matt Barkley for me.
But I'm hoping the under. But Brian Dable said something yesterday where he said that he knows Matt Barkley's worked with him before, and then Mike Shea, the quarterbacks coach. So he was saying a lot of the terminology. He's just learning terminology. He understands the concepts and what they're trying to do with a lot of things. So if DeVito is struggling, that's why I put it there. Do they put Barkley in just to go in? Because you trust him. It's not an undrafted guy coming off the bench. That's why I threw that in there. No?
No, it's a fair ask. Listen, but at the same time, I sure as hell don't want to see Matt Barkley play on Sunday.
All right, let's stick with your Barkley that you love. Saquon, rushing yards, over under 62.5 times.
Yeah, I'm going over. I've fallen more in love with Saquon Barkley this season than any other season I've ever covered the guy because he has shown something that I'm not going to say he didn't have, but he just has shown this ability to overcome and play when things are tough and everyone knows he's running the ball. And he got dealt a short hand last week because they got behind. But man, did he look good. And the offensive line was blocking well. I'm going to say over here. I think they feed off of last week. And he has a big game in Dallas.
Paul?
Well, I don't think he has a big game because of the nature of the way the game's going to go. But I asked him, just kind of BSing with him yesterday, and I said, you look like you could have run for 200 yards last week in Las Vegas if the game was, on the up and up, an honest game. The quarterback didn't get hurt, they didn't, get down. And he said he really felt good. And I said, is that the first time all season where you've had less contact at the line of scrimmage? And he said, yeah. He said the offensive line was great. So, I mean, it's the same offensive line. I guess Evan Neal won't play.
You saw what I tweeted, 5.3 yards before contact. That's the best by a huge margin.
And he was the king of yards after contact this season. So, look, now, right after Tommy DeVito got in the game, they handed the ball to Saquon Barkley, and there was 12 guys in the box, and Saquon was stopped for no gain. So I'm sure Dallas is going to line up and say, look, you want to throw it over our heads, throw it over our heads. We don't care. We're going to line up and stop Saquon because we don't think you can beat us, Tommy DeVito. But I'm going to say over. It's a long way of saying over because he may need 30 carries to get over, but it's going to be over.
Yeah, I say over. This guy's walking 80 yards. He's been getting his yards. He's been getting his the entire time. And Paul, I got to give you a shout out, man. I saw you throughout the media availability in the locker room, and you're just going up to each different guy talking to different stars on the team, and they talk to you, man. They trust you. I saw that, and I saw one of the guys after, and I was like, you know, Paul's a good dude, man. He's like, yeah, you don't have to worry about anything when it comes to Paul Schwartz. So I give you props for that one. And I'm gonna go to you to start with. Game total and points, 39.5 over under. Go.
I'm going to say under because I don't think the Giants are going to score a lot of points, unfortunately. You know, so I mean, I you know, whether it's 27-3 or 30-9, whatever, you know, that would be under. I'm just going to say under because until the Giants show me they can score a couple of touchdowns, it's going to be low scoring.
I'll go over here, Brandon.
Okay,
I'll take the over. Yeah, I think the Giants are going to be competitive. It's still pro football. It's the NFL. And pride's going to have to come in. And it's going to be up to the coaching staff this week to put that offense in position. No pre-snap penalties, no turnovers. That's going to be the mantra this week. But the coaches got to earn their pay this week. Put Tommy DeVito in the best situation possible to make plays and keep the game close. So I'll go over.
I'm going to go under, but I agree with you. And you say the coaches got to put him in the position. Talking to the receivers yesterday, they want to help this kid out. They want the ball, you know. And again, it was one of those things where they didn't want to give too much when answering questions, but you can tell that receiver room is like, all right, let's forget just handing the ball off. Let's throw it. Let's help this kid out. So that's our over-unders. We're going to get into our final thoughts. Paul, we'll go with you, then I'll go. And Tynes, as always, you kick us home. Final thoughts, Paul.
Look, it's a rough situation. You know, I mean, third-string quarterbacks, undrafted quarterbacks are you know, they don't start many games now. You know, it seems like this season they have started some games, but you know, it's a rough deal. The Giants are a fragile team right now. You know, Dallas is coming off a loss to the Eagles, right? They played well. It's a loss to the Eagles. They're going to be home. They're going to be salivating. You know, they love sticking it to the Giants. I've been many games at AT&T Stadium, and most of them do not turn out well, and most of them are not close. 95,000 people there. It's, you know, it's big screen. It's no place to hide. So I don't see a good outcome for the Giants at all. You know, I could see, like I said, a 27-10 or a 30-9 kind of game. You know, it's too much for the Giants here. You know, will they show us something? Maybe it would be nice if they did. You know, 16.5 points is a big spread, and I don't think they cover it.
You know, if I was Brian Daboll, I'm going to remind these guys that forget the records, forget who you're playing. The opportunity is there. That's the best thing about NFL football, and Tynes can tell you. If you're an undrafted guy like a Tommy DeVito, if you're a practice squad guy like a Tyree Phillips, if you're a guy like Jordan Riley and Leonard Williams has been traded away, the opportunity is right there for you, and it's going to be America's game on Fox. So whether you're playing for dollars or contract extension or to stick on here in New York, it's also a preseason game almost to where every NFL team, GM, and scouts are going to be watching and evaluating this game just in case you get released, just in case something happens down the road and you become available. Forget everything. Forget the media. Forget what your parents talking with your friends. It doesn't matter. Go out there and compete against one of the league's best offensive linemen. You're going against one of the best pass rushers and pass rushing defenses in the league. The opportunity is there for you to show up on tape. Go up, do it, play for the guy next to you, and then whatever happens, happens. Because again, you don't need Jamie Foxx to know when it comes to the NFL, it's any given Sunday. Tynes, kick us home.
Well, that was well said. You know, as a guy who scored the first points in that stadium, I did. I also closed out the game that day with the game winner, so I feel like I own that place just a little bit. The Giants just got to go down here.
You signed the wall, did you? You didn't sign the wall.
I didn't sign the wall. That's an Eli Manning thing. I thought that was classless. Way to be classless, Eli signing a wall. No, I actually would have had I known about it. Sure. And big bubbles, big bubble lettering. They would have had to really get some paint to cover up my signature. They just got to go down here and listen. I think that a little bit of the pressure's off this team for some reason because, look, they're 2-7. No one's going to expect anything out of them. I think that will help them some. Tommy DeVito's going to play free. Who the hell expects anything out of Tommy DeVito? Not many people, maybe himself. But he is going to get to play a little bit of carefree football. You can't turn it over. and you can't have pre-snap penalties. The Cowboys are a much better football team. Go play hard. Don't embarrass yourself or your team. We know what you are. A lot of Giants fans might be real happy if you lose. I won't be, because I want you to win, and I think you can win with Tommy DeVito. But the Cowboys are in another category in this league. Give me the Cowboys 27-14. So I think it's a blowout. But I think it can be a competitive game for the most part early. But they're just going to get worn down. This offense has really become dynamic for Dallas.
All right, that's a wrap on the show. And to all the fans that come up to me at the games and they're like, "Oh, Tynes, it's hilarious. Paul really gave it to you on that DJ back and forth." I want to thank you guys, because there are a lot of outlets and content creators out there that you can get your Giants news and podcasts. So thank you to the fans who choose Blue Rush each week. If you're a rookie to the show, then you can get all Blue Rush on all the podcast platforms, and you can watch all the Blue Rush videos on the New York Post Sports. And, oh yeah, throw that flag up. And SNY's YouTube channel. We still believe we're still hype here, so make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Let's go Defeats!
New videos, podcasts released Mondays after the games and Thursdays heading into the week ahead. For Paul Schwartz, Lauren Tynes, and our entire production crew, thank you to our production crew, and thank you guys for watching Blue Rush. Hold it high, Tynes. There we go.